You gonna start it? Hey, what's up, guys? We're back again, Horror Flick Chicks, Sandra, Sonia, and Angie. And we are here, and we decided to keep this going with the podcast episodes on a series because we love doing the episodes of The Last of Us. And since that's over now, the new season of Yellowjackets just started. So we also season one, and we loved it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we thought that we would try and do a episode by episode recap every week for you guys. So we hope you enjoy it. If you haven't seen season one, it's a series that's on Showtime. So it's not too much to catch up on because there's only one season out. Season two just started. And if you haven't seen it, so basically, Yellow Jackets is about a New Jersey soccer team, a high school soccer team that are traveling to a championship game or a
Yeah.
right, and
From New Jersey, the
yeah,
school.
New Jersey high
Yeah.
school team, yeah, and they're traveling to Seattle for a championship game, and their plane is in distress and it crashes in the wilderness in Canada. And the survivors, which are a bunch of high school girls, and there's the coach, and there's like two. I don't know what the kid the guy
They're like the water boy
and like
the-
equipment guys or something,
yeah, it's like that. I
and they
love the water boy,
survive.
but
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but then I was like, I don't think that's right.
yeah, I think it's more like the equipment helpers and things.
Yeah. And so they're stranded, their plane crashed, they're stranded, and they're stuck and they're trying to survive and trying to get help and kind of what's that movie? uh Alive. Remember that movie Alive with that soccer team that got the plane
Yeah.
crash?
Wasn't
And
that a
I
true
mean,
That
story
was a
though?
true story.
it was a true story, but I'm saying, they're trying to get help and they're trying to survive and whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that mixed with like Lord of the Flies.
Yeah. Really interesting. Kind
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
a lady's version of Lord of the Flies. Some wild
Yeah.
things kind of happen. They survive this wilderness like about a year and a half. And so
Yeah.
season one kind of goes into like um their adulthood after 25 years after the incident.
Right. The high school, when the plane crashed, this takes place in like the mid to late 90s.
90s, yeah. So
So
all of them
then
are
it goes,
basically modern day, like early 40s. So we kind of
yeah.
see like see their current life. There's a reporter that's kind of interested in going backwards into their life and trying to figure out how did you exactly survive this, and what happened, because they have spent all these years just moving along with their life, and they didn't want to go backwards, and they
They
just
never,
kind of
right. They
move
never fully
forward.
said everything that happened to them.
Yeah, and it was really, obviously we see that it's very traumatizing. We see them as adults kind of like going through their phases of their lives, but some better than others, just kind of but also like each of them have some kind of thing that they're dealing with and grasping with in their life. um it's I've been like, I kind of rewatched this just before watching season two, episode one. And it's really, I felt like I sat through like a bunch of episodes easily. Like it was really like pulling me in.
Mhm.
Um, it's really traumatizing, really kind of sad,
Yeah.
really kind of, it's totally believable in some ways.
Some
Each
ways. Yeah.
in some ways, like without the obvious, like, okay, this one like turns into some sort of thing, and like, I
So
don't
there's,
know,
there's definitely a supernatural element here
element to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that gets thrown in. on top of them trying to survive in these conditions,
Yeah.
right? So all that stuff getting thrown in makes it a little weirder.
Yeah.
And I like season 1 because they go back to the 90s when they were stuck in a crash to when they're adults, and they kind of go back and forth, and they show
Right.
them
Yeah,
now.
I like that. I like that too.
Yeah, and just I guess from the jump, there's great actresses in this series,
Yes.
right?
Oh, yes.
Awesome
The
actors.
adult
Juliette
versions
Lewis,
and the teenage versions. They're
Yeah,
all really, really
totally.
good.
yeah,
Totally, really great. Just some really big ones. Juliette Lewis for me was like a big I love her. I loved her from the 80s and the 90s, and she plays Natalie on Yellowjackets, and she's really great in this. And of course, Christina Ricci plays Misty, which is a fantastic,
She's
quirky
awesome
teenager. I love her. She brings like laughs and like she's just so
and
funny.
crazy. She brings laughs and crazy.
She is so crazy.
She's
I love
crazy.
her. But
And then
she
the
really,
girl,
at the end of the day, this show is really about like how you're a team and you stick to being a team
yeah,
oh
despite
yeah,
like betrayals and there's things that go down. It's a real collective like friendship and kind of like
like they're in
sisterhood.
it together. They were in it together back then, and they're in it together now.
Yeah,
yeah.
so
They have to.
basically like if somebody's getting into trouble now 25 years later, I'm going to help you chop up that body and I'm going to help you
Yeah,
hide that body,
cover up all this stuff.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
So the basically the last episode of season 1 ended up where they're helping Shauna um uh cover up the murder of this man that she
Of her lover.
bumped into. Yeah. And so they're helping her do that. So they did that. And season 2 kind of brings us into what's interesting about this is that we're talking about like some of them there's ideas that there was cannibalism, but we don't know exactly who.
yeah,
So
Right.
what's really funny about this is that they're slowly going into each other's lives.
Yeah.
And so when you see them as adults, you're like, oh, okay, so clearly you ate people. But who could it have been? Because you're learning about it's a big team, and there's kind of a few characters that have not sort of been spotlighted. So it's kind of like, ooh, were you eaten? So season 2 kind of like brings us into this like story of Lottie, who was kind of in season 1, and as a teenager we see her like be kind of, I guess, like struggling with some mental health issues, and her parents were really rough with her and kind of like took her to a hospital and gave her shock therapies, and it was super unfortunate. It seems like she was kind of like dramatically like you know dealing with her own issues, and eventually she becomes a little bit like evangelical. We learn in season 2 episode 1 that she's basically like kind of like running a cult. It feels like to
yeah.
me,
That's what it
right?
feels like.
It's yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
We don't know. We're not sure about
It's
that,
hard to, yeah. Mm-hmm.
but it seems that could be a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of last season, we see that Juliette Lewis's character Natalie was like kidnapped
She was
from
kidnapped. Yeah.
the hotel that she was in. And in episode 1, we find out Misty is also Christina Ricci, that's her best friend, and she's trying to find her. She's doing all the digging to find her, and later on we see that she ends up being kidnapped by Lottie's like people. So like in this wilderness, and And Lottie just kind of like, I think she just thinks that she can make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Or like,
Everything she does or is doing is gonna help things, help people, help
humankind or whatever.
Yeah.
So
That does sound very cultish.
yeah, I mean it is. I think so. So what else? So the story between Shauna and Jackie, we witnessed that, in episode 2, we witnessed the ending of Shauna and Jackie's friendship. So as we know, spoiler alert, if you're watching this, you should know that Jackie dies. She freezes in the cold at the end of season 1. So in season 2, I found it very interesting that they kind of go back into that story, and they show them like Shauna having like lucid dreams of Jackie actually still being alive, and them having
Right.
like conversation.
Talking to each other, yeah.
Yeah, because it was really traumatic for her. Like they had a falling out, they had a
Well, they
really
were
bad
they were
they
best
they were
friends
best
in high
friends. They had a
school,
really bad fight.
and because Shauna was having an affair with Jackie's boyfriend Jeff, who
Yeah,
we find out in the present time that Shauna and Jeff are married,
right.
and they had a kid because
Right.
Shauna was pregnant when she was a teenager.
Yep.
Yeah, so
that whole thing broke up the friendship, but when they were in the wilderness, but and then Jackie froze to death in the cold, and so like you said, now they everybody knows that Shauna's in like the shed talking to dead Jackie. They kind of leave her because they're like, oh, that's how she's dealing with it, but she's and there's a scene where they shows them Jackie's alive, and they're talking back and forth, but then a few minutes later you see Jackie falls over, and she's ice cold, and it's like, oh wow, this is not real.
Yeah, her ear falls off. Oh my God.
Yep.
That last scene. Let's just say Shauna had a Van Gogh moment. or a Mike Tyson moment. Rather.
But but let's go back to Shauna and Jeff trying to cover up, her involvement in
that was a scene.
death.
That was a scene. So they find out that Adam is an artist. They go to his art.
She knew that.
She knew. Yeah. But they go to the studio to kind of like check it out, to like make sure that they're kind of clean.
Yeah.
That she got rid of, or they got rid of it, all the evidence.
And as soon as they walk into this massive art studio, they find hundreds of pieces. This guy was crazy for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like either you're a prolific, very quick artist, because by the way, you cannot do artwork pieces that quickly. So I think we're gonna find out later that he'd been following her for quite some time. And anyway, so they find all these pieces. They find all these pieces of him his paintings of Shauna. And it turns out that so like the husband's there, and he's like, what the fuck? Like there's all of these this guy was in love with you. Like and as it turns out, like she thought that her husband was having an affair, and her husband's like, no, I wasn't having an affair. And that's when she's kind of like, well, the thought of you being with someone else kind of like turned me on just a little bit. And then they get it on in this studio. Like it was a hot
in
moment.
front of all the paintings of his wife.
Yeah, I know.
That was having sex with the guy
by
that
the
lived there
man that
she
had an affair with.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sometimes these things can be a little bit hot for your marriage. I don't know. I guess for some people.
I don't know about that.
Well,
I
I know,
mean,
like in
like
season,
for
I do
some
remember.
people, you got to be careful. Like things will be turning over. There'll be stuff being thrown at you. Like it's either that or it's this opposite
Right.
hotness.
Well,
You gotta hope.
I remember in season 1 that they went to a therapist.
Yes.
Yes.
And she was encouraging them to explore, different scenarios and, discuss different things to help with their sexual, connection. So that's probably one of, and maybe
Yeah, I guess.
she did that so he can like get it out of his head, like that. Oh my God, this guy was painting pictures of my wife, and she was trying to like change
Like
up.
distract them.
Yeah, exactly. So it could have been that too.
I have to say that Shauna is a very good manipulator. So
Yeah,
Yes.
I know. But she's not very smart because at the end, well, towards the end, when she got his stuff and she was gonna burn the first of all, I was like, all that stuff is not gonna burn on that little barbecue grill.
Oh, yeah.
She had his credit cards, ID, and the books,
passport.
and I was like, okay, and sure enough, they burned the stuff, and because the daughter already knows that she was having an affair because she bumped into them in some club.
Yeah.
She knows. And then she sees on the news that this guy's missing, and she knows he was with her mom and everything. So she's already like, something suspicious here. So Shauna and her husband burn that stuff, and then she goes and goes and checks it out. And of course, the only little thing that's left is the picture of him from his ID that didn't burn.
And the daughter finds it.
Like they didn't check. I would have been.
I know you are right. You're right. She's a little sloppy.
So
yeah, the one important thing.
Yeah, she should have had Misty help her because Misty would have looked through that shit.
I know. Misty is real good. She makes sure everything is taken care of.
She's all about making sure everything's covered up. Cover your ass, like your tracks. No, don't leave nothing behind.
She would have.
Yeah, Misty's like Christina Ricci is fantastic in this. It was funny. I liked the episode. I think it was last season where she's like the end of last season where she's like helping Shauna like do a police interrogation.
Yeah.
And she's asking all these questions and she's like,
her voice changed.
But they might ask you this.
How was the sex? Was it hot?
Yeah, was it? Yeah.
And she's like, I don't think that they're gonna ask me that.
You don't know what they're gonna ask you.
Yeah.
And then she baked that
funny
cookie.
And crazy.
She baked
funny
the
and
cookie.
Crazy.
The cookie.
She made a cookie.
That's why I put it on the cookie. Like what? Yeah, she got a little nuts.
She's crazy. She baked an entire. I love her character. Anyway, so we end up,
Well, I'm curious to find out about what's going on with Thaisa.
Yeah, so Thaisa's got some supernatural thing going. Yeah. Her kid is seeing this thing too, so I don't know if it's like a psychological thing that probably she needs medication for.
Or maybe it's something she has that. Well, was she pregnant with her son? Because she's a lesbian.
Yeah.
So I don't know if her son is too young. Her son is like 10 years old at most.
No, I know. What I'm saying
wants to say is did she have the baby or the wife had the baby?
No, I think that's Thaisa's baby.
Oh, okay. No, because I was gonna say when whatever's going on with her might be something
passed down, like
I think it's Thaisa's baby because when the wife went to the car the day that she went to pick up the son after school, there was just something in the language that made me feel like that's her, because she literally said your son, your mother. She said your mother.
But they said it to her. She said it to the other one too. They're both the mother.
Yeah, I know. I'm just wondering.
But I feel like in season 1, we either saw her pregnant or we saw one of them pregnant, but I don't remember.
Oh yeah, no, that's right.
That's why I was trying to remember
That's right.
who it was, if that happened and who it was. Because if it
Right,
was
right,
her,
yeah.
maybe
I don't
whatever
remember.
spiritual thing or supernatural thing that's kind of going on with her is something that's passed down, and
Yeah,
the
it's
son has
definitely
it now.
going
That's why
through.
he's seeing this thing too. So it could be something like that. But hopefully in episode 2, we'll find out more about that, and then we can kind of go back a little bit and recap her story from season
Yeah.
1,
Yeah.
and it'll lead into more into what's going on with her now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like a generational curse that's been placed on Thaisa. So it's on Thaisa's son. So whether or not it's hers or not, it's a curse.
Okay.
Yeah, which really sucks because I think she's trying to do her best, and she's trying to like live her life, but there's something.
I mean, they all are, but it seems like all these things are catching up to them, and
yeah,
you know, we just got to see where it goes. Now, it's definitely an interesting show.
Yeah, I also want to point out, Natalie's, she really loved Travis, and she's trying to figure out, Travis's, situation, whether he was murdered.
That's something else that we can kind of go into more in the next episode, because maybe they'll talk more about that.
I hope they do.
That had a whole backstory too, so
it does.
There's so much, it's a lot of stuff going on, but I guess we'll find out more as the season progresses, because I think the season's going to be really good.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting series. If you guys haven't checked it out, again, we just started season 2, so it's only one season. It's about 10 episodes, I think. And it's a really good, I wouldn't necessarily say it's horror, but it's like a thriller, and it has some drama in it.
It has horror elements.
It has horror elements, but it's definitely an interest. There's a lot going on, but it's a good series. It's a fun series. So if you haven't done so already, check it out and join us here every week as we recap all the episodes of season 2. We'll be back next week with season 2, episode 2 recap.
One last thing. I just want to say the music. 17 by Sharon Van Eaton was like giving me like life. Anyway, that's it.
All right. Thanks, guys. As always, please check out our podcast here on our YouTube channel, and please subscribe. Also, we're on many audio platforms, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We love doing these for you guys, and we hope you love it too. And we'll be back next time. This is Sonia, Sonia, and Angie of the Horror Flick Chicks saying peace, love, and horror. Bye.
Bye.
That's the end.